going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode here on the Digital Tradeshow-Dental podcast, where we've got microphones falling all over the place. We're going to get everything squared away. It's day 2, so we're having a lot of fun here in Vegas. I'm actually with a guy who lives in Vegas. That's always fun. But anyways, certainly spending some time with a lot of the great sponsors here at the event, the Christine Taxon's Dental and Medical Insurance Extravaganza. And very, very excited and honored to be with David Mang from CareCredit. David, how you doing, man?
Excellent.
Good
to be speaking with you today, John.
Yeah, you as well. So for many of you that know, I'm sure many of you know CareCredit, and they've done some amazing things and are continuing to do some amazing things, most importantly with helping patients get the care needed and finding a creative way to do that. And so I was very excited to bring David on and him share a little bit about his story, but more importantly, some of the newer things that you may not know about that CareCredit is doing in the industry. So again, thanks for coming on. Before we get started, a little bit about your story.
Sure. I've been a practice development manager with CareCredit. I specialize, CareCredit has roughly 220,000 different dental providers across the country. And what my role is designed to do is help more providers understand how to better utilize the program. While we have a great enrollment and everybody has it, our job is to identify opportunity within the dental practice. John, when you look at dentistry and how it's delivered and paid for in our country, what we typically see is 50% or half is delivered and paid through insurance.
Right.
And we do a really good job in the industry when patients have that benefit of getting them to do their treatment.
Yep.
Another big portion of how dentistry is delivered and paid is 30% pays through self-pay, cash, credit, debit.
Right.
What we try to have conversations with the provider is what happens to that less 15 to 20% of patients every day in a dental practice that really say these 3 words: maybe, no, I'll think about it. And have you thought? And so utilizing a sales process to get them to understand, if you had to guess for the 10 times you recommend in the crown, how many of those patients move forward in a time frame? One of the things I heard you say is, hey, CareCredit allows the patients to move forward with treatment. I would add one word to that, and I would say sooner is what CareCredit will allow you to do. The fact of the matter is, over 220,000 dental providers, less than 10% achieve what they deserve to get out of the program.
Right.
And so getting them to see, of 10 crowns that you presented this week, if 7 move forward and 10 delay treatment, can we talk about that other 30%?
Right.
And then, what would it mean for your dental practice if 10% more would say yes?
Right.
Because if you don't get them to see that opportunity, nothing changes. And I think so many practices wait, and I've heard over the last couple of days, well, we use it when we need it. And when you step out of dentistry and you look at big box stores and retailers, and you ask yourself, why are they asking every customer every day that goes through their registers, highlighted on their television commercials and their ads, they're not hiding financing.
Right.
And we have a tendency to hide financing until the patient asks us versus be proactive and market it. And there's really 5 reasons why somebody doesn't want to present CareCredit. It's the fee that we charge.
Sure.
Right? It's that they won't get approved. They don't know how. They don't feel like they need it. And so those are some of the conversations my role is responsible for. We just surpassed Discover Card last year. We have 11.5 million card holders. Interesting, 53% of our business is now repeat. So again, helping providers understand, hey, listen, when somebody has the card, they're becoming a better patient.
Absolutely.
Right? They're more loyal, return trips to your practice. The cart size, the ticket size increases, and so that's a little bit about what my job. One of the other things you asked is some of the new things that's going on with CareCredit.
Yep.
So we have something called CareCredit Direct. It's a downloaded app that we actually will send a device. Basically, the promotion, we'll ship it out to the practice. You can order it online. Very simple. It's a 6 months promotion. If the provider chooses to keep it, it's $9.95 over the next 36 months. And the reason for that is it's just a little bit quicker experience. It's a removable device where you can take an operatory and have a patient apply. So that's one thing that a lot of providers are liking. There's also something called Pay My Provider. It's something used in 2 different ways. One is, for years, when a patient would come in a dental provider's office, they would say, hey, listen, I don't have the CareCredit card, but my mom in Kansas City's allowing me to use her card. in yesterday's world, it used to be, hey, have your mom fax this over.
Right.
What they'll allow us to charge. Now it's simply you take this pay button, place it on your website, and now the provider can just say, hey, John, have your mom go on to our website, click on the CareCredit pay button, and in real time, you get an email stating that her mom's done that, and then it's in your account the next day.
Yeah.
So the other way the tool is used is for any post-care billing.
Right.
So again, say you had a root canal 6 months ago, they estimate insurance at X. You get a post-care bill, you can place stickers on statements directing them to go to your website to then pay you. So it just helps you collect a little bit faster.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really seems like taking some of those little tiny obstacles, like you said, and finding a way to be able to make it easier, which is what you guys have always done, and that's
Sure.
what I've known certainly CareCredit to do. Is I've had experience with it with practices that I worked with, and I'm glad that you mentioned the whole issue of current customers that you have, but then in your role, being able to go back and continuing to work with them to say, did you realize there's some of these other newer things that you could do, because they get busy, right?
Yeah.
And there's so many different things that you guys can help them with, and so I'm glad that that you guys have brought those things to the table.
Yeah,
It's exciting.
and again, if everyone agrees that half's delivered and paid through insurance, 30% pays through self-pay, listen, take your production, times it by 20%. Are we delivering what you deserve?
Right.
And it's sad that less than 10% of 220,000, get that. And so can we look at that other 5-10%?
Sure.
If you're getting that 20%, and I understand your production, I'm going to tell you, hey, John, continue to do. You've maximized. There's not a whole lot more opportunity.
Right.
For you.
Right.
Makes sense.
Which is interesting, because how often do you find that people would look at maybe the available amount that they have on their card and equate that to insurance? I mean, how many times is it? I mean, at the end of the year, you have a lot of these practices that will call these patients and say, "Hey, you have treatment that needs to get done.
Certainly.
You have that much in insurance."
Yeah.
Kind of the same thing with you, right?
Yeah, certainly. And some of your big providers will pull. We have what's called available credit report, where we can take through the historical data of the provider and pull cardholders that have visited their practice, got their treatment done, paid it. So it's a really good list for a provider to also take a look at, especially at the end of the year.
Yeah.
A lot of marketing that goes into use it or lose it, end of the year benefits. So that report actually ties real good with that type of marketing as well.
Yeah,
Yep.
absolutely.
Yep.
So talk a little bit about this meeting. You guys go to a lot of meetings.
Certainly.
The company does certainly throughout the year, and I'm always very curious on the conversations that you have and the companies have at these meetings with the attendees.
I think, my big takeaway is it's amazing for me when you're talking to a provider of basically helping, for myself, getting to understand what they're looking to do more of.
Yeah.
And how do you implement our company to what you're already doing? But again, it all ties back to the opportunity. Until I know that,
Right.
I can't throw a bunch of tools at them. I've got to understand, what are you trying to get out of this meeting? And then I think my job here is to implement CareCredit as a alternative to the medical and insurance billing. But it's been great. I've had good conversation with a local ADOM, Michael Cruz, who's told me a lot about some of the local meetings and stuff like that. And that's a good reason why we want to be at these meetings. And Christine and Paul have been phenomenal supporters of CareCredit, and we the same for them.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
Yeah.
I think everybody's been really excited, certainly, and I think that this is one of those meetings where it's a little bit more specialized, right, as far as the topic and what people are talking about. And I think anytime you talk about billing and those types of things, then it just seems that it's kind of coincides with what you guys do.
Absolutely.
So,
Yep.
yeah.
And the traffic's been good on the breaks, and to be brutally honest with you, that's not always the case.
Sure.
But I think the clues and driving people has created some excitements, and bringing prizes to raffle off helps with that engagement part for your sponsors as well. So that part's been great too.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Absolutely. So, you obviously talked about some of the newer things or what have you, but in your particular role, like what's one of the things you're most excited about right now as you're continuing to work with your practices and your customers?
Yeah, I mean, I just for me on both sides, it's the business of our repeat. 54%. That's pretty cool. That when somebody has that card, they're getting healthy a little bit sooner. But there's also a part of me that says, okay, what happens when you would assume someday that that treatment soaks up? So the importance of driving more applications and more cardholders. what excites me is when the light bulb goes on in a dental practice, and you see the applications in dollars. That means more patients are getting the care that they need a little bit sooner,
Right.
and it's a win-win on both sides, right?
Yes.
The provider side as well as the patient side, and knowing that you made a difference, particularly in our vet space, where we have testimonials all the time about Fluffy being saved,
Yep.
and or the other scenario was put the pet down. So I think that's the best part for me, and CareCredit is a phenomenal company to work for. All of our leaders are very people friendly, and just I can't say enough good things about the company.
It's interesting. I'm glad you brought up the vet side because I wanted to share with you a personal veterinarian CareCredit story. So this goes maybe 3-4 years back. We were on vacation with my sister, and she got word that her dog was sick, and had to get taken care of while we were gone.
Okay.
And I remember her coming back into the house and what have you, and she's just like, it was very expensive. Vet bills are not always very cheap.
Yeah, sticker shock,
and
no doubt.
she's like, I didn't know what I was going to do, and then the vet had called back and actually had proposed to her and said, hey, here's this option. It was
Certainly.
CareCredit, and I remember the conversation very vividly at dinner that night. She was like, I never knew that was available.
Yep.
And I'm sure you guys hear that a lot. But I guess
That's what keeps me employed.
of course
John.
it is. Yes.
Yeah.
But I wanted to tie a personal story because I know you guys hear it a lot, but I think it's very important for people to know that those are the stories that the customers, as you know, or whatever, or the patients or whatever, have at the dinner table that evening.
Certainly.
Maybe they didn't realize there was another option.
Yep.
And what the relief it was for her at that time, based on where she was in her life and how she was able to space it out.
Yep.
She was very, very excited about it. So I always remember that.
Sure.
And it always comes back to me when I get to speak with somebody from CareCredit.
Yeah, and another interesting, fun fact about the vet space too, that kind of coincides with that story there is, I said earlier, 53% of our dental business is repeat, 70% of our veterinarian practices.
Sure.
Repeat. When you can remove that cost, people become better pet owners.
Yes.
Right? And they go for the preventative and the wellness. They don't wait for the sick and injured visit.
Right.
So can make a huge difference as well.
That just hit me, that the percentage for their pets is more for themselves.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
We know who really gets loved in this country,
Yeah.
the animals.
That's it. That's it.
That's
So,
awesome. Well, David, this has been great. Thank you so much for taking a couple minutes and coming on the podcast. CareCredit, the brand, is synonymous for just doing great things in the industry, and love to watch you guys continue to grow and doing great stuff.
Awesome, John. We always appreciate being here.
Yeah, all right.
Thanks for your time today
You
as
got it.
well.
All right, take care.
Bye, bud.